Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
We move into the final stage, something that we have been wrestling with, pun intended, for the last 3 weeks. That is to say, Jacob coming back into conflict with his brother Esau. 3 weeks ago, we began with the difficult departure of Jacob as he had deceived his father, stolen the birthright, or the birth blessing rather, and had to flee the country. The entirety of last week's parashah was dealt with his struggles, his turmoil there in the house of Lavan. When things became untenable there, he had to return to the land of Israel. But of course, who is still there waiting for him with a considerable axe to grind? His brother Esau. Now, this is not the first time we've seen brothers quarreling in the book of Bereshit. The book of Genesis is practically founded on brotherly confrontation. And so we see Jacob with all of his family, 12 sons and a daughter, plus many others that are part of his extended family circle now, those that are additional shepherds and other workers with the family. He comes back and is preparing to cross the river. And on the other side of that river, well, the reports are that Esau is coming. And he's not alone. He has 400 armed men with him. Not exactly the reception that Esau was having. Maybe he planned to just sneak through. Maybe he planned to go unnoticed. That does not look like it's going to be possible. So what are his options? Well, option number one, flee again. He could go somewhere other than where Lavan is, Haran. That's already a closed door. He could set out across the wilderness and hope for the best. Doesn't seem like a good idea. So instead, he is going to have to confront his brother, and he could do this with flattery, and indeed, he does flatter his brother outlandishly. He can do it with bribery. Gifts to be offered to his brother. Perhaps trying to show his brother that he is willing to share the blessings that he took when he deceived their father Isaac. He could perhaps prepare for a slaughter. And indeed, he does take some steps to separate out his family in order that if the armed men attack one camp, the rest might have a chance of fleeing. Terrible position to be in and to try and consider those alternatives. He, of course, also can pray and wrestle through the night and be given the name Yisrael. But throughout it all, there is an underlying fear, an anxiety, a tension. Now, he doesn't walk away from the fear. As I've often said, being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means doing it anyway, even though you are afraid. And Jacob shows great courage. But that fear is sometimes ill-defined. Is he just fearful for his family? Is he just fearful for himself? Our commentators say yes, those two. But he is also very fearful that he will perpetuate the cycle of brotherly violence. That he will be put in a position where he will have to defend himself and his family, and he will end up taking his brother's life. Now, this may sound like low on the rank of fears. I mean, after all, if somebody's trying to kill you, why should you be afraid that you have to take their life in return? They are the ones attacking you. You are only defending yourself. Why should you be afraid of this? Well, because Jacob realizes that these brotherly confrontations since the beginning of time have been the fracture lines upon which the world remains broken. And that if he is forced to play his part by Esau's hostility, that it will just perpetuate again and again and again. And so he decides that he will do everything possible to avoid a bloody solution to this problem. And importantly, his children seem to learn the message. Yes, Joseph and his brothers have their squabbles in next week's Torah portion, and we will continue with those problems until the end of Bereshit. But something very special happens. They don't murder him. Despite having every reason to murder Joseph, when they are finally put in a position to take him, to finish his life, and to get away scot-free, they just hesitate enough. Just enough. And they say, we will put him into a pit. But even that, they realize, maybe not quite perfect. And whether it be a perverse implementation of their father's own reticence to confront his brother with violence, or whether it be just their own selfishness, they sell him into slavery instead. And that preservation of Joseph, that decision not to murder Joseph, that is what saves our people. Because the famine that strikes Israel would have wiped out all of Joseph's family had there not been a place in Egypt for them to go. That is where we turn into the nation of Israel, Am Yisrael, there in the land of Egypt. Because of Jacob's reticence to fight and kill his brother, and the message that was passed on to his children, however imperfectly, but strongly enough that they stayed their hand against their brother, this set into effect the chain of events that would lead us into being a nation. It is easy to resort to violence, and sometimes it is necessary, but we always have to be careful to judge each case precisely. Is it necessary at this time? I am afraid when I must use violence. Will not hesitate to use violence when necessary, but it should always be something that gives us pause. Shabbat Shalom.